I walk the streets with my swagger on, supernatural, facing a million opponents, and my role is to act alone. Lights, camera when the action's on. Where I roam is a battle zone, a vigilante in the catacombs. But I rock with a hot shot like a clock when it's cocked and popped and the lead is gone. People say that my head is gone, but it's them same people with need of my help when I'm heading home in life. They say that everybody got a purpose, so I roam the city streets like faulty cellular service. The hot shot, sharpshooter, superhero, destined to shine like light through the dark.
Comes a new challenger!
Hey everybody, what's up? It is Mike Watson, aka Most Epic, and we are active and in the building for a special episode of Chat and Draw to get into a deep dive on what this hospice universe is all about. Quick updates. We just came back from Small Press Expo, and our TikTok shop is fully functioning and ready to go. We are finishing up the backer kits for Epic 21 and also for the Art of Ryan Robinson Kickstarters, which were just funded in the last couple of weeks. So we are working on those backer kits so we can get those surveys out to you. And I think that's all. That's all I got for right now. We're gonna jump into this one because we got two awesome guests popping on here. And we're gonna bring them out in traditional chat and draw fashion.
Wait a second. A new opponent has interrupted the tournament.
What's up, gentlemen? How you doing?
Yo, that is easily the most graphic things that I've ever seen at the start of a show. I feel like you added 2 since last time, and I was just on Travis's thing, and there were like 15 in that one. So, like, to have more than Travis is a lot.
That's true. That's true.
We tried to go for a big presentation on the show.
I like the spinning Agents of Geekdom one that spun all the times. That was nice.
Thank you. We had fun with that one. I'd like to welcome Russell and Travis to the show, two members of the horror shared universe Hospice. I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to jump into some juicy topics. Travis, you're first.
So I'm Travis Gibb. I am the creator of one of the Hospice books. It's called Hospice, No Freedom in Texas, which is a very cool one-shot book in a shared universe that we're going to talk more about tonight. I am also the part owner of Orange Cone Productions with me and my wife. We do a whole bunch of books like Great Estate Punk, Cthulhu Invades whatever invading that week. We've got what else we got? We've got Coins of Judas, Voodoo Nations, Expired, all sorts of really cool stuff. And that is who I am.
So you're up.
Hi, I'm Russell Nohelty. I'm USA Today best-selling author. I make all of these things. I am very upset at Travis's Ringo loss, but mostly I'm upset that they couldn't even spell your name right on the Ringo site. Like they can't even spell Cthulhu's name. Like they had, like I got when the ballots went out and it was wrong, but like they didn't even go on the site and fix it at all from the time that the ballots went out to yesterday.
And to the when you have the image next to what you spelled, you have the book next to it.
I'm so well. The name of my book is Cthulhu is hard to spell, so I guess it like literally proves my point.
Right.
But like, it's so frustrating. I was like, oh, I should probably find out if Travis won or lost to Ringo while you were like, and I was like, they still haven't fixed it. I'm so angry.
I let him know. I'm sure you're aware.
Yes, because I remember you telling me that it was like I don't know, 7 years ago, 150 eons ago, whatever time is now. Yeah. Like whenever they came out, you messaged me and were like, "You're not going to believe this." And so I know it's been since at least that day they had to fix it. Anyway, I'm angry about it. I'm angry and livid about it. But I'm very excited that Cthulhu was nominated. And I am not surprised at what won at all.
Based on the track record, I understand. But it was happy to be nominated. It was such a cool event. Really cool thing to be there, and for you've been in all of them to get that. We almost made it. We got there. We just didn't quite cross the finish line. But I'm going to try again, and we'll see if we can do it again. And if we can do it once, we can do it again, because I think the next one's just as good. And we'll keep going until they give it to us. That's the plan. Anyways.
Absolutely. Well, and also Silver Coin lost, which is kind of what you based
the hospice on, right?
So not that I'm the host, but like I'm gonna just that was such a nice segue that I had.
To take it.
Oh my, Russell, you've never have you been on Michael's show before? Yeah. He doesn't host. He's drawing. Like he doesn't care what we're talking about. He may not even be involved today. He just sits there and you're supposed to talk and do all the work. It's a good system for Mike.
It's a good system for me. Like just like show up and talk for like an hour straight. I can do that. But I super think this concept's really cool. So I want you to talk about it since you came to me with it.
Yeah. So we have hospice. Hospice is a shared universe. Like Russell just said, the original inspiration was from Silver Coin. Silver Coin is a great book. Comes out from Image Comics. And basically the concept of that is there's a silver coin. When someone gets a silver coin, evilness happens. So, we have a very similar concept. I pitched it to 6 kick.
Uh-oh. You pitched it to 6 Kickstarter people.
I've got an idea about hospice.
Oh, you cut out after you said you pitched it to Kickstarter people.
Oh, okay. I pitched it to 6 people and said, hey, I've got this idea. What if around the world there's a bunch of these things there's this bunch of place called Rising Sun Hospice. In that Rising Sun Hospice, it's an incubator for people who have done evil in their life, who are incubating a demon. And when they die, a demon comes out of them, and a demon is spawned based off of their sins or whatever they did. I pitched it, wrote a nice little package for everybody, said, hey, who's in? These 3 guys are 3 of the guys who are like, damn right I'm in. And we've been working on this book for over a year. So it's wild. It's finally here. Russell's and I book are out right now. And then starting tomorrow, we have 2 more added to the mix.
And I just uploaded all the links to every one of them to the chat. So please go over there and pledge to them, support them, and hit the follow me button on the other.
And I need your help. I'm 300 away from funding, which normally would have already happened, but I was busy with the Ringos. So I need your help to get this going, because it's embarrassing, all these new people coming up looking for money. Like, we need to get mine across the door. So.
Yeah, that'd be great if we can get Travis funded tonight within this hour.
That would be great.
So if you have if you've backed the campaign already, that's great. If you can help us out a little bit more by getting some shares happening on this stream right now, so we get some more people to back the campaign, and more money on Russell's doesn't hurt. The more money that we get, the more things
No,
that we
making
get to
comics is
craft and create.
expensive. That's just like the first step. First step is funding. Like the real step is like way more than funding to actually break even.
Well, and more importantly, this is a shared universe, so you need all the books. You need them all to see the shared universe, see how they all connect, see what it's all about, and get that cool connecting cover. We have a connecting cover that goes through all of them. So
Yes,
Yeah,
we do.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
very nice.
And there's an Epic 21 add-on set also that you can get from any of the campaigns, which is really cool. Mike, you want to talk about that since you made it?
Yes. So, everyone being so awesome and being team players, thought we're cool with adding Epic 21, a special set of 12 cards for Epic 21, featuring each one of the main characters or main demons from each one of the books that you get to put into any Epic 21 set. We've done the Epic 21 Kickstarter, promoted a lot here on our Chat and Draw show. So, just a refresher, it is a battle card game inspired by Blackjack. The point is to get to closest to 21 as possible without going over. And they feature indie comic book characters such as Freestyle Comics. We also have some we're doing for Orange, and we're working on the set for Russell. So all these cards we're able to mix and mingle, and because they're each from different production studios, they'll each have their own little rule that you'll be able to add on and bring to the game. We actually just ordered all the Epic 21 cards last week. So we should be getting those here in about another week and be able to start delivering those Kickstarters, with the exception of the creator cards that we are still working on because we have like 10 people who have creator decks that we're making.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. I mean, I heard him talk about it a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I want a deck. He's like, do you have enough books? And I was like,
please,
man, please. Like, and so I'm like, let me show you all of the things. And he's like, you have enough for 3 decks. I was like, I know. Like, you can pick whatever you want from here. And so I'm super excited to do one. I don't know if you know, we did a card game for Ichabod earlier this year, which was really cool. So to have another one is real nice, and not for Ichabod. This was not going to be for Ichabod. It's going to be for the Godsverse, I think. But what is cool about this universe is that everyone kind of you can read any of them alone, but reading them together gives you a lot more scope. Like, I think that mine, except for maybe Frank's, does like the most like building of the actual hospice itself. Like, because mine is about a terminally ill patient who gets released from maximum security prison and then lives out his final days in this hospice, and then discovers it's very pulpy. I wanted to make like the pulpiest book that I possibly could, but like modernize it. In fact, I forgot to add the voiceover, the caption boxes to the thing when I did the lettering, and I realized it late, and I was like, but I like it without the caption boxes. It was supposed to be even more pulpy than it ended up being. But I think mine and Frank's, which comes out tomorrow, they're very like in what the hospice is. And then I know like David's and Mike's are like just about hospices as hospice workers, really, as they go out to like collect these demon souls. And then Jamie and Travis's are somewhere in the middle. So like, if you want to understand the mythology of the whole thing, really, it's kind of having each of us do our own story and allowing us to like follow our interests kind of gave, I think, a pretty good like overview of the kinds of things that these hospices do. Would you say that's accurate, Travis?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement. And I think it shows, though they're all horror based, there's a lot of ways to tell a horror tale. And I think that that's one of the things we show. Mine is more the purge, like kind of survival horror. Jamie's is kind of like investigating, like Belly of the Beast. Yours is kind of mental, trying to figure it out.
Very Lovecraftian. I wanted
Yeah.
it to be.
Yeah, David's is very. It's actually kind of closer to Jamie's, where it's a little bit sexy, but trying to deal with the someone who was in these situations, but not quite wanting to be in these situations. And then Frank's is just messed up. Like his shit is messed up.
Frank's is every time I read one of Frank's books, the first thing I think is, who hurt you?
Right.
Like, because they're so messed up. Like, it's like him, John Lees, and Brian Hawkins. Whenever I read one of any of their books, I'm like, dude, this is so fucked up. Like in a good way. But like, they're the only three comic authors I think who've ever legitimately scared me.
Yeah. No, it's wild. This whole series has been very interesting and creating it and building this universe together, which is really really fun. And one of the cool things too about it is we all own it. In fact, Frank just sent his inside cover to show like all of our names on all the books. So it's not just in practice, like it's in what am I trying to say here? It's in the book, like it's labeled that we all own it, we all vest in it, we all won't put our names on other people's books, which is not something we just do haphazardly. It's because we believe in the creators who are doing this and the end result that we're going to get in, which is really really cool. But tell us a little bit about yours, Michael, your team, because you put a whole new team together that's never made a comic.
Yes. But I have a question before I do that. I don't think you. I think you touched on it, but you didn't really go into it. What's up, Fee? And Facebook user, could you sign your name after your comment? I know you're somebody that watches regular. I just don't know which one of you are. Um, what made you decide to approach the people that you approached for this project?
That's great. Well, to be honest, it's people who I love to work with. So I start with people who I love to work with. So I'll start with that. And that is you, Russell, and David. So you were the first three that I thought of. Russell and I work really well together. We should really do a book together at some point because we vibe, we write very differently, we create very differently, but we both have unique skill sets of how we get backers and create things, which I think is really cool. I haven't been able to really showcase that lately, but we both have different styles, and we both absolutely care about the medium to a extreme extent. And like our fears are the same of what's going wrong in the medium, and our hopes are the same of what it could be. So Russell is always my first ask whenever I do something because he's on the thing. David, same thing. David's a friend of mine. I loved it when he was Publisher Scout. I want him to do more books because I think he's super creative. So he was the second person I asked. You and I have worked together, Mike, for a long time on things. I know you have a whole studio, and I know that one of the reasons why I asked you specifically, and this may sound how to say this. In the Black superhero community, there is crossovers on the regular, right?
Mhm.
The negative, from my point of view, from the outside, it tends to be before they even have a finished miniseries. Like we have a one shot, we're going to work on issue 2, but before that, we have 17 different crossovers and like epic wars and all these things before we even know the characters. And what I love about FSK is you guys have never really bought into that. You'll let people do prints, you'll bet stuff. You're like, we're trying to create our story and our universe. Your big 0 hour event hasn't even you're like 2 years out, right? Like
Yeah.
you've always been the long burn. So when I thought about doing, trying to change the status quo, because when I look at Kickstarter, I really think that if it's viewed as a publisher, let's do what publishers do, and that's crossovers and that's creating things together. So you were one of the first persons I asked because I was like, I think that Mike and I are on the same wavelength on how these things should be done. Why don't we do this thing and see if it works? And you agreed. Everything I just said. You and I had this conversation privately, and I know you agree on at least some level that
Mhm.
if we're going to create these things, let's create them from scratch and let's make something cool and share audiences and bring new audiences to the fields, right?
Yeah.
then when I asked Jamie is Russell and I's secret. I found her first, but Russell has claimed her as often as he can. um, Jamie is immensely talented.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
immensely talented, and she is. No one knows who she is, which is the way Russell and I has wanted to keep her for a long time. But we
Whoa, don't add me to this. Like, I want her to be as successful as possible. Like,
No, I don't.
I'm not
I
trying to
don't.
keep her.
I don't. I just.
Like, I want everyone to read Binary Star. Like, it's great.
It is
Especially,
great.
it's gotten better as the lettering has gotten better.
Well, and I even think her art. I mean, you can. One of the things you can see is the progression of her art. Her art was already good, but um, the details, the backgrounds from volume 1 to volume 4, the positioning of the characters in these unique angles that she's willing to try are amazing.
Yeah, I think the story was really good and the art was good, but like she definitely gotten better at doing the things that are unique to comics, like dynamic posing and angles and all of the things that just make panels more interesting.
Right.
I know even from even in the story, like it was like night and day from like the book that I had read to like the story she did for Cthulhu. So
Yeah, and then Frank Martin, he's a staple in the community. He's always doing books constantly. And I wanted someone when we started putting this book. What's her book called again? It's called Binary Star. Definitely pick it up, but I would wait if you haven't bought it. It's probably going to be an add-on in her campaign that launches tomorrow. Buy it
Yeah.
as an add-on. She's hard worker, but I think it's even webtoons. I think some of it's available
Yeah.
free online if you want to come check it out.
it is. It's definitely a webtoon first, and then she puts it all out. I think she has a website. I don't know if it's on Webtoon, but it's definitely on her site.
And then Frank Martin, like I said, he's such a staple, especially such a staple in the horror. When I decided this is going to be one shots, Frank Martin is the king of one shots.
Mhm.
A lot of us make series. Frank Martin is one shot after one shot after one shot. So we needed to bring him on, and that rounded out the team. And then for me, David Swartz has been working with Caleb. I can never say Caleb's last name.
I don't know which Caleb.
It's
Palmquist or Thuset?
yes,
Or
he
another
does modern mythologies and Unicorn Vampire Hunter, all that. David Swartz does Vampire Detective over there. I love that guy's art, and I was like, I need to get this guy on a book as quickly as possible. My slate is pretty full on series, but getting him on Hospice was very important to me, and I did pay top tier for the art because I really feel that David is a special art, special when it comes to art.
It looks great. I mean, if you go to my campaign, there's a link to download a sample of all 4 books. So, like, if you want, I think actually the 4 pages that are in the sample are on your page as well. I know the three from mine are on my page as well. But it's bonkers art. Like, that art is bonkers, man.
Yeah.
I love when people do the 2-page spread and they have the character be in multiple positions. I'm sure that's like a specifically talks like that's a technique that I don't know what the technique is called. Whenever I'm like, oh, it's the 2-page spread where the guy's doing the walkie thing and he's in multiple places. And when I saw that page, I was like, you did the walkie thing. I like that thing.
Yeah, so that particular 2-page spread I wrote, what I really wanted to do to show that they're kind of descending into darkness, I really wanted you to grab the book and like bring it upright and like watch it from that angle. And this is again working with a pro. That's what I wrote. That's what I. But one of the things that he pointed out, which I think was such a great thing when he did it in the angle that you see in my preview. And one of the things he pointed out, he's like, if you're doing a long hallway, descending into hell doesn't really work because it could be seen from any angle. Like if you go upside down or sideways, he's like, it's never going to get the impression that you want. It's just going to annoy the people that they can't read the word bubbles. So instead, let's do this really cool sideways angle that fits the same idea, which I think is he knocked out of the park. And that's what I love about artists and writers who really care about the craft and know their craft. I wrote it a certain way, and he was even willing to do it my certain way. But once he showed me what his idea was, it was better, and we went with that.
Well,
So
I love hearing that, and I think that's great to hear that type of stuff and behind the scene things. It just, I think it is a cue of how much work you do with a bunch of people. You do a lot of work with large groups of independents, and Russell, I know he has worked with a lot of creatives from different aspects of not the typical style of comic books. So I can tell you from um, just your two names alone was worth the reason of me wanting to do this project. Number one, you guys are extremely successful on Kickstarter. I'm over here taking notes and I'm reading. You also are very creative in the projects you pick and the artists that you pick, and you look at comic books. Well, I think we all look at comic books from a different perspective, but I wanted to see what your perspective was and how you guys look at comics and put them together. I feel like this is always a learning thing. Can you could you tell me one thing that you guys have learned that may be new or different from this experience of this collaboration of six different books?
Uh, so mine is so I do a lot of work with authors through my company, Writer MBA, and we just released a archetyping system. And what's been really interesting is watching the this universe from the perspective of everyone's ecosystem and like how everyone is launching differently. Like, because you kind of have to watch how everyone's launching. Like, there's a Facebook group. Like, I mean, it's only the two of us now, but like, I have access to like all six of the dashboards of like where everyone is in, not dashboards. I have six of the follow pages that I look at, and I'm like tracking how each is doing after I do a promotion. And like, it's pretty wild how close three of the four people have within one follower of each other.
right.
And then when we launched, I've been doing a lot of extra promotion while Travis was at in Baltimore, but I'm going to Nink next week, and he will probably catch up. Like, we were basically for the first, until he went to Baltimore, like at one point we were like literally $10 apart and had the same number of backers. And it's just wild to watch across all of these things, like how uniform it's been. Honestly, like I'm shocked at how uniform it's been.
All right. What about you, Travis?
Nothing. I learned nothing. No. It's interesting. What I really learned and loved is that I could have chose when I had this idea, I could have chose any six people, right? I could have chose any six creators and done anything I wanted, but I chose six people who all have opinions in ways that they do things. Like, it was our hour-long conversation when there was no submission. It was like, hey, I want to do this. I think we should do this. And many a times, I was treated and respected and go, hey, I don't think that idea is great. Let's do this one. And we voted on it and did stuff. I think that was really great because it shows that people actually gave a shit, right? Because if they didn't give a shit, they would have just said, cool, I'll make the book and I'll be part of this thing. But everyone found different ways of being successful and how we could do it. Like, my original pitch was we do this over the year, one book at a time, every couple of weeks. But people pointed out, well, then that means the person at the end is going to get more backers and this and that. And how do we split these things? Trying to figure out all those things. And I think that it made it so special and unique, trying to figure out what's going to work for us and what this looks like for us. And also going, if this works, can we pass it on to somebody else? Because one of the good things about us three in the room, we are community builders. You've signed so many superhero books that were struggling on Kickstarter into FSK universe and build them up. You took short fuse, you made sure the short fuse didn't die and built it up. Russell, you're with your anthologies, me and my anthologies. We're community builders and safeguarding what we're making for the future. Because if it works, we really want everyone to be able to take this and do it and make it be a really cool thing. Someone asks, is it not advised to kickstart at the end of the year because of taxes and things?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not great, but if you're doing a Kickstarters every year, like you probably you got to pay those taxes at some point.
Right.
I mean, at this point, so all three of the companies that I'm looking at to print can print within 2 weeks. So like if I submit an order at the beginning of October, I'll be done by the beginning of November, which most of the money will be. Plus, I am deeply in debt for this book. Like there's like very little chance that I will break even on this book. So like I don't think it's going to be an issue. But yeah, I mean, so there's two. The big thing is more. A lot of creators buy stock and then don't ship to the next year. And that's the worst because you have something called carryover inventory, which is a very boring concept. But I'm going to talk about it anyway, which is when you buy books in 1 year, you can't write the book off until you sell it. So like you end up having a bunch of books and no capital to pay the taxes on those books. So I think it's worse to like print the books and then not ship them by the end of the year. But like, I don't think that's going to be a problem for anyone. Most people ship quickly. I don't know. Like, this is not the end of the year for me. Like October is the busiest month on Kickstarter. So.
Oh yeah. I've got two. I got more books.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is the end of the year. And that was never our concern. Our goal though for this was to get it out by the end of the year. We wanted this book out by the end of the year for everybody, so everybody could see what we've been doing and putting together. So
yeah, like my book's done. I think Travis's book just needs to be lettered.
No, I'm a little bit further behind, but David is fast. I mean, he'll get it done before the end of the campaign. I think it's only like 5 more pages from being done, 5 or 6. I will be in print in October to get everybody.
Yeah, like I just spent this morning building out the backer kit campaign and getting everything. All I have to do is record the audio, which I'm probably going to do tomorrow morning, and then the book's ready to go to the printer. And so I mean, the only question mark is how long is David going to take to print the connecting cover? Like that's the only question that I have for like. Right. I don't know. Like, I mean, I've never worked with David. David is not a known entity in working with other creators as far as printing goes that I know. So I do not know how quick he's going to be.
All right.
Oh, yes. David is printing. So David Byrne is printing all of the connecting covers. So one of the questions that I didn't even thought of, but since David does so many books, he did think of was if you get the connecting covers from 6 different companies and 6 different print qualities and 6 different things, like the connecting cover is not going to look that nice when it's all laid out. So David has his own printer and he's going to be printing all of the covers for basically all of the B covers, which I think everyone's cover is the B cover, the Oranga cover. So he's going to be printing all 6 B covers.
No, me and Michael here mess that up. For us, it's C, but for everybody else, it's B. Yeah, we have. I have an orange cone cover, and he has an FXK cover as B. But yeah.
So all of the connecting covers, whether they are B, C, or Q, are going to be printed by the same person, so it looks uniform across. Although right. I will say that I went to do Oranga's thing, and it is not sized the same way as our orange, the trade dress or the pages. So I did have to add some orange space around the edges to make it work.
That's fair. That's fair. Um,
I'll butt in here for a
by
little
the way,
bit.
I sold at Epic 21 on my campaign. I'm super
So did I.
excited.
I sold two.
Oh
You
shit!
sold two?
All right, that's what's up. We
Nice.
are on. All the pencils are done. All the inking is complete. There are 4 more pages that need to be colored on our book, and 6 more pages that need to be lettered. We're kind of in the editorial stage right now of the letters and going back over the scripts. I kind of have like a me and Danny kind of have a slower process of we read the script with the artwork, kind of read the script like 3 or 4 times at 3 or 4 different stages of the book process. So that's where we're at right now. But we'll be very we'll be done soon and be able to have it ship in October.
Nice. Yeah, I think everyone will be. One of the things I did do when I was picking people are people who could get the job done. So not people who fuck around, people who get the job done, who I trust will get you your book. Frank Martin's done. I've read the whole book. David's not done, but David ran a publishing company, Big Scout. He'll get it done. I know he will. But that's what we do and how we're doing it. Someone wants to know what you're drawing, Mike.
That's what's going to be my next question or next thing to ask you, gentlemen, is tell them about your 2 characters here because that's who I am drawing. I'm drawing Travis's demon and Russell's main character right now.
So I guess mine's fully drawn, so I'll go first.
Yeah.
That is my character who has no name in the style of the pulps. So he is a he is a inmate with a incurable condition that has been in prison for a long time for doing a lot of bad things. And he is released to go to this hospice to live out the last days, but he doesn't know that bad things are going to happen to him at this hospice, and it's very much. I very much wanted to make a pulp, but in the style of Lane Lloyd's drawing, which is the opposite of pulp. I was basically like, can I take this artist who I love and do this book, which is pretty much tonally opposite of what you would expect, which is a lot. I do that a lot. Like I think Black Market Heroine is tonally opposite as most of Hammer's work. I think Nick is very bloody in the way that most of his work is like more cartoonish and not so bloody. So I tried to play off type a little bit with this one. But that is the main character. So he's a very, very, very bad person. But the question is really like how much of it is him and how much of it is circumstances outside of his control.
You want to tell us about yours, Travis?
No, I don't. I want to keep mine
cool,
secret.
That's your choice.
So mine is the Black Tar Apothekar, is what I call him. He is his human form was a oil baron in Texas, and he has spawned up this beautiful demon. That stuff. So my story, the story of mine, I don't think I've even said it yet. This interview, my story is about immigrants. We talk about immigration. It's so funny. Like I relate to the Spanish culture so heavily, even though I am not Spanish in any way, shape, or form. So I love Spanish. I write a lot about Spanish, and I love. I always like hearing the stories of immigration. The good and bad. So this is about immigrants in Texas, and they go over the border, and they have some good old boys who are trying to take them out and kill them. They run and hide in this hospice, and they find out that the monster there may be more deadly than the monster that they're running from. So it's a very cool book. It's kind of dark horror, like I said, The Purge-ish. I do a little bit of political commentary in there. I'm not going to lie. But it's a lot of fun, and that demon is, basically my definition of what I think makes Texas evil, which is the oil money. If I'm going to be honest.
Well, heck, we appreciate your honesty. Everybody has thoughts, So, um,
I mean, that's what makes Texas. Not everyone in Texas, just the state in general.
Yeah. So, with your story, well, either one of your stories, how long do you gentlemen think it took you to come up with the concept of both your stories?
How long did it take me to come up with the concept? I think it took me once I knew I wanted to work with Lane, and then the rest of it was how can I make something that is both horror-y in the way that I wanted to make something like Lovecraftian, and also that Lane can draw, which is not so far out of his like more cartoonish lane. So it took me probably like a week to come up with the idea. And I was done, I'm pretty sure, first. I think I was
Mhm.
done last August with the book, or maybe it was like September with the book. But yeah, it did not. I mean, once I knew that I wanted to do like a pulp, like the old horror serials of the 40s, it didn't like there's a pretty predictable style to them of like what kind of characters you would see in that. So that's what led me to the rest of it.
Huh? And you, Travis?
So I had the idea before I pitched you guys. You know, when I knew my idea, I knew my story. When I was pitching you guys, you know, in the meetings, I knew what I wanted to say. I wanted to tell this story. I would have told this story even if they said no to hospice. Like it was a story that I had about immigration that I had in my head that I thought was a story I really wanted to tell. I knew I didn't want to do another series at the time. Like I was not ready to do another series, but I did want to still work with my friends. You know, I was looking at Cthulhu's and I said, I like this, but I want to find a way that I could be more intimate with some storytellers and try to figure out something that would work and something unique in the Kickstarter environment. So that's when I created this. And I remember it was really funny because I created mine because I felt mine was like the entry level into hospice. And then Russell was like, "No, hold my beer. Let me show you." Like, like because one of the talks that we're doing is, eventually doing a trade. You know, our goal is to get these single issues out, let them time for sale. But that's been our fight is who leads the trade, who ends the trade, what story goes in what order to get another book on our tables and to help everybody out. I think it's kind of fun, doing these adventures that way. So yeah, I had my story from the get. You know what I wanted to tell, the kind of story I wanted to tell, the kind of adventure I wanted to tell, because I love those stories. Escape from New York. I keep thinking you guys maybe know the name of the movie. It's about a bunch of people who go to a fight. I think Emilio Estevez and they mess with Dennis Leary in like Detroit.
Hmm.
Nope.
I'm gonna find the name of this movie. Hold on. The movies where the survivalist movies of when you like get stuck in a situation and then the world's kind of against you.
Like
Okay.
Warriors,
What's
like the
that?
Warriors, right?
Yeah, like the Warriors. Judgment Night is the name of that movie. Judgment Night is the name of the movie that I was thinking. The Warriors, all these movies where you're in a situation you're above yourself. I mean, even Clockwork Orange for kind of, those type of stories always fascinate me. I wanted to write one for a long time, and this is the story that I chose in this universe with some of my best friends in comics.
Awesome.
How about yours? Because you had Lori write it, or your wife was going to write it. Tell us the whole story. What happened?
Oh yeah. So, my wife came up with a really good idea that I like. She likes to pitch stories and things like that. She came up with a really good idea. She has never written a comic book or anything like that. Uh, and I was like, all right, well, that's great because this project just kind of fell in my lap with a group of other people. I want you to write it and use this story. And she just got nervous, butterflies in her stomach, and it was I was trying to give her time to get it done, but we were coming up and we needed to get something started. So uh, I sadly moved on to my wife, and I asked Stephanie Menard to write it. She does Uh, really great interpretations of wildly psychotic characters in kind of a horror environment already. And she also writes Vigilance for us at FSK, and I love Stephanie's work. Stephanie came in, kind of gave her a pitch for an idea for what I wanted to do with it, and she knocked it out. And then the interns of FSK this year, which is a combination of the Art Academy of Cincinnati and the Columbus College of Art and Design, they are the ones that have been working on this book. This is their first comic book that they ever put together. Um, Rahaf, she is drawing the book. She had a style very different from what we normally project at FSK, and I wanted something uniquely different to be on to match what you guys do because you guys always pick like a really unique style for your book. So we wanted to go different, and as I saw at Small Press Expo this weekend, we have a very mainstream look in our books. So I wanted to not have such a mainstream look with this one, and they whole thing from top to finish, pencils, inks, colors, letters, editor, all that jazz, all put together by the intern. So,
It's awesome. I gotta ask, um, what was your experience like at Small Press Expo? Because when you told me you were going to Small Press Expo, I was like, wow, they have a very mainstream look for a Small Press Expo book. So like, how did you do? How was it?
uh, that assessment would be exactly correct, and it made me really, really see the books uh, having that mainstream look more so than any other convention that I've been to. My assumption was this is a indie comic book convention, and I'm an indie publisher, so that's what these people are there looking for. And it's not a knock on the show at all, but I was not what they were looking for. Not initially or anything like that. And that's something that I had to kind of like survey and assess on Saturday. The show is only 2 days; it's only Saturday and Sunday, so that's something I kind of had to survey and assess and kind of talk about it with the people that I were there with and kind of distribute how our table looked. Because once we stepped back, we were like, we asked a few people and they were like, your table's kind of intimidating. I had all the books on there. We had all the prints up, things like that. And I even started watching people more so than normal because we were getting people walking past like 3 or 4 times, but wouldn't even like look in our direction. Wouldn't even look, not an eye look, not a head look or anything. And I was like, no, look, I know my books don't look fucking bad. What is the problem here? All right.
Right.
And then some of those same people came back for like the fifth or sixth time. And then this time they looked over our way and was like, oh, this stuff looks really good. What's this? I'm like, you've walked past this table 7 times. Why haven't you seen me till now? And like we were in the front, and I'm very, as you guys all know, I'm very energetic, and we were standing in front of our table to say hello to people, greet them, and have conversation. One of my things that shows is I believe in engagement. I don't believe every engagement has to lead to a sale, but I believe in tons of engagement at the show. So I like having conversations and talking with people, and I wasn't getting any of that on Saturday. But by the middle of the day, it was building up, and then Sunday was a much better day for us. Um, I've got to I mean, I got some new ideas, but I know I need to reassess how I go to that show. So the way that I go to a mainstream show or a Cincinnati Comic Expo is not the way that I need to come to a small press expo.
Yeah, like I would imagine space is very similar. Um, that's in Columbus, right?
Yes,
Like
it
that's in
is.
Ohio.
Uh huh.
Space, I would imagine Jeff's show is pretty similar to like how a small press expo feels.
Hmm.
There used to be a show called Alternative Press Expo, which had a similar feel. Like there's a whole class of show that has a very like that. Mice, TCAF, VanCAF, like a lot of these shows are just like very there's one called Comics Art in LA. They're just like they're the like everything that works at other shows does not work at those shows.
Hmm. Yeah, so space has been here for a very long time. It has kind of fallen off as far as attendance and things like that, but it's like the longest running comic book convention in Columbus. Um, Cartoon Crossroads in Columbus has picked up where kind of space had left off, and they've kind of like carried that flag for the city of Columbus the last few years, and that's the Jeff Smith show. So we also got in there. So we'll be tabling there, but I've been to that show before, so I kind of knew the vibe. Um, but not being at SPX, I knew it was kind of like this really big small press show. Um, it was a great experience to be there and talk with people, and um, get a different perspective on how I should present myself in shows.
Cool.
No, no. So it's funny because I was in Baltimore, which is my wife was blown away because this is the first show that she's been to that's a comic focused show.
Mm-hmm.
She has never been. We usually go to fan expo shows, which are like craft fairs, celebrities, and then comics are this thing that's there if you really want them. If you're confused, and not that we do really well at those shows. Please don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not the focus of the shows.
Yeah.
So is the small expo because Russell could have drawn an X-Men book and stapled it together on his printer and acceptable there? Is that why your stuff is too clean and put together compared to other stuff? Is that kind of the thing?
Well, it's not that the. Yes, I think my books look very much so like a traditional Marvel and DC book. So that's not what the immediate eye appeal. Now there were people that have books in Russell's art style and things like that, but they were still cleanly put together. Even the books that were stapled together were still produced very well.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I don't know what the
it's
style's called. Oh, go ahead, Russell.
Well, it's like Silver Sprocket does books, or like Iron
saw them.
Circus books, or
Right.
Prism books, like Fantagraphics, Drawn and Quarterly. Like those are the ones that really like.
Actually, like this. I saw this artist. I got their stuff. Looks real.
Yeah.
I love how this looks, but that's more of the style there. And then they did have mainstream art that they did, but their mainstream art looked like this.
Right. But again, that's a fan X-Men made book.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Like I bought my wife this series of unicorn books there that looked really nice, but I picked this one up myself.
Okay.
So this was what was very that style was what was very popular at Small Press Expo.
Well, and I know people did half days at one day at Baltimore and the other day at Fairmont because they were only 2 hours apart.
Yeah.
Away from each other.
Oh, that's crazy! I didn't know that. Well, I mean, why would I know that? I don't know.
I don't think it's it's just like Silver Spring to Baltimore, right? So
Yeah.
it's like an hour. It's like an hour and 15 minutes. Yeah, it's like, if you can get into Small Press Expo, there's a whole. So because I do so many different kinds of shows, like it's wild. There's a whole world of like mice and comic arts and Small Press Expo that are like, there's a whole other publishing industry that exists that does those shows and that those fans go to, like LA Zine Fest, like Zine Fest stuff. It's like some of it is like very prettily stapled chapbooks and such, but like a lot of it is just like weird, like wherever Fantagraphics sets up, or like those kind of companies. It's just Catboy, like those kind of things. Just they have an audience. It's just they bomb usually pretty spectacularly at mainstream shows, but there is a whole market if you are that kind of artist who does very avant-garde, more on the like Wuffable Oaf kind of books. Just like look up Silver Sprocket and like it's those books.
Oh no, I saw Silver Sprocket.
Yeah.
I went past their table. One of my friends from college had a book on their table and stuff. So yeah, I know. I'm understanding exactly what you're saying because I saw it.
Yeah.
But there was some really good things there that I enjoyed. That I picked up a few different books or whatnot. But it was a good experience, and then I think it's one we definitely do. I want to go back to the show, but again, I want to recalculate how we present ourselves there.
That's so neat. It's so neat to hear. As someone I've never been to one of these small expos, and I just assume I'd kill it. But hearing it, like my stuff and my displays and the way I do stuff is pretty clean based. So maybe I wouldn't. It's really interesting. But I do also have like Brandon St. Punk is very Patrick art is not like anybody else's own.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe I do better at that because it's experimental art. And even like Russell does it way better than I. We like to take things and twist it. Like Broke Down in Four Dead Bodies is a crime noir book. but I actively chose to do it in a non-style, much like Pulp Fiction, right? Pulp Fiction is a crime book, a crime movie, but it is very clean and not like a crime movie at the time, you know?
Mhm.
So I have a book called Gherkin Boy and the Dollar of Destiny, and I have another one called How Not to Invade Earth that I drew, which are like very weird books, and like those are the kinds of books that like kill at Small Press Expo kind of shows.
Right.
Just like if like it is the inverse of what you expect, and I've done those shows, and I've been like, y'all know I drew this, right? Like this artist works for Marvel now, like. Quit giving me $10 and give me $20 for this book, but like they just like it's just a more avant-garde scene, like which is like I happen to have books that go from like very avant-garde, like Gherkin Boy, all the way to like Marvel and DC, and it's very weird to see what does better at certain kinds of shows. And even my own mentality when I go to different shows, like, is very different for what I'm looking for and what I'm going to buy. So it is not surprising to me that that was your experience, because I lived in Silver Spring. Like that's where Karen and I lived after school, and that I know all of my friends who do really well at those shows tend to hate mainstream shows because they do terribly there.
That's crazy. Yeah, because when we got there, like the show was like it was all in just one room, all the tables together. Obviously, there was nothing else going on. There were panels that happened, or whatnot. But yeah, I was glad I went though. We had a good time.
Is it still lotteried in? You just like put your name in, and if your name comes up, it comes up.
Yes, well, half of it's lotteried in, half of it's special invite. So we got in due to the lottery, and that's what I was trying. Like I've been trying to get in through the lottery for like the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh yeah, like I tried for so long to get into the lottery because that's where I'm from. Like so, that's cool though. What is nice is because it's lotteried in, you end up being able to like you do find a lot of weird stuff and other stuff there that like you might not expect. Like, but in this case, Michael is the weird one, and not the other, and not Catboy's not the weird one.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna. That was the other thing I was gonna say. Like, I didn't know anybody there. I knew 2 other Columbus creators, but that's only because my friend introduced them to me because I was trying to do a scavenger hunt there with some other creators, and I met them for the first time, and I lived in the same state as them, so I never knew who they were until we did this event. And I just happened to know one other guy there. Everybody else there I'd never seen before, never seen at any other convention or anything like that. So it's definitely a lot of variety in their creativity pool that they pull.
Well, it's also interesting to have like if you think of like horror conventions, it's a whole other world of people that don't do other conventions. Like there are people that just run the horror convention circuit as artists and they don't do anything else. They do oddity expos and horror conventions, and they make so much money like catering to that audience, and you wouldn't see almost any of them at any other show. And sometimes you'll see them at just like the big shows, but most of their life. Like, I have a friend who runs the oddity circuit, and she's like, I make like so much more money than I make at like San Diego Comic-Con at these oddity shows, even though they're only one-day shows, because like everyone is there to spend. So if you can, there's like when you do a big convention, there's people from like 5 different types of conventions at that convention, because there's also Book Expo convention people that go there. And like if you then they all break off from like San Diego Comic-Con or like one of the big shows, and they do their like the rest of their circuit.
So I got to ask this, Russell, and I apologize for anybody who's really bored with hearing us talk about conventions, because this is more like this is fascinating to me. But you being a book writer, I really need to know: do people do well at comic conventions in that square book section? Like, you know, the fan acts, they always have this square one little section of basically the book. You know, there's books in Artist Alley, but these are like this is where Peter David sits and others. Like, do they do well? Do people come for that?
I know the thing you're talking about, and
Uh-huh.
I can't comment publicly about that specific thing. What I can
Okay.
say is I sell way more novels than comics at conventions. Way more. Like by factors of like if I have books and comics at my table, like I will sell almost no comics and I will sell more books than I do at any other at like a standard comic convention. So yes, I will say to the person who talks about Joan and Vasquez, I have a book called Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter, and like that is like based on like not based on but influenced heavily by Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and Squee and all the old SLG stuff from the early 2000s, Lenore, Chris Grimley, and like there's definitely a market for that book. Like if you open it, you'd be like, wow, that looks just like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac meets Invader Zim meets. I'm like, yeah, it's. In fact, the artist for Aaron Alexovich, who draws the character designs for Invader Zim, did the covers for all 3 Cthulhu is Hard to Spell anthologies. I'm not fancy like Travis. I don't do like 78 covers like he does for the Cthulhu Invades books, but I just have the one from Aaron. But yeah, it's definitely a market for it, but you probably would do. I do really well at horror conventions with Ichabod. I do really well at like zine shows, like more shows like with Ichabod. I just kill core conventions. Like with the combo of Ichabod and Cthulhu, like I absolutely decimate horror conventions. I can't do them very often because it's so loud, but like those books absolutely destroy horror conventions. And like especially on like a per person average, horror enthusiasts spend the most at a convention of any convention I've ever seen ever.
I mean that tracks because the stuff that if you're buying like a Nightmare on Elm Street something, it's so rare to find, so they're always up. You know, the prices are always up.
But
so that tracks. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting. When I first started my career, I just said I will do any show once, any show. It didn't matter, and I did hundreds of shows, like most of them one time. But I just found that like some overlap between like book conventions, horror conventions, zine conventions, and comic conventions really worked very well for me. But I know people that do. My friend was one of the Putty Patrollers on the original the show that the Putty Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So he does really well at collector conventions and such. It's just like you've got to kind of figure out the overlap because in most areas there's not enough conventions to support you in that one city or in that one even region. But if you start looking out and expanding beyond just comic conventions, you'll find, oh, well, there is a library convention, and library conventions are great because they're usually one day free, and the people there love books. They don't spend money on books, but like I actually make a lot of money at like library conventions and comics.
Well, I am loving all this, but I've got to cut us off. We're at the just over the 1 hour mark. I have another appointment tonight. So what I wanted to do with these is obviously I'm going to have all the creators from Hospice Shared Universe on the talk show throughout the month, and I wanted to finish all these pieces. We are offering, if you buy all the collector covers, you'll get this nice little Hospice ID card, a swipe card thing with a digital download code on it where you get some extra stuff. So I want to offer each one of these pieces that I finished to that digital download for everybody. If you get the covers, if you get the all cover set.
Are you making one piece together? Are you putting it all together in one piece?
That is going to be my goal.
Nice. So you're back next week with 2 other creators to do that. So if we're wrapping up here, let's can you send out both just Mike and Russell's link out because we're live?
Yes, I can.
And then I will take a minute to promote what's coming next. So tomorrow morning, around 9ish, it looks like Frank Martin is going live with his, and Jamie Premack is going live with hers. So make sure that you are aware and that you check it out and that you back it and support it and see what's going on. In any of the campaigns, at the bottom, you'll be able to find all of our links to the other campaigns. So make sure you do that. Back the ones you like, but really get the whole thing if you can. We have tried to make it very, very affordable. Like my books are cheaper here than they are on a normal Orange Cone project. We're trying to make it cheap. The Connect cover is only $20 to try to make sure that that's great. But please back us, show us support. Russell's so close to $3,000. Let's get him there.
So close to 200 backers, and Travis is so close to like being funded. And it's a huge weight when you just, even if you know you're going to be funded, you still want to be funded. So just want it. Also, just the universe is really cool, and you can pick any of the books to start with, but it is really like a really cool experience to see how all of these creators brought their own energy to the books and their own style to the books. And I think it's a really, really cool experience to be part of, but also just to, I've never seen a shared universe in comics on Kickstarter, and it's just like cool to support that because like people are already asking me about how my experience was. And I would love to say it was fab. Like we had like rolling backers the whole time. Like people kept coming in. Like it was so great. And you should do it too, as opposed to like the opposite, which is like, well, I mean, it was a big struggle the whole time. Everyone kind of barely funded. And like, I'm just happy to get out of there with my life, which is how I feel currently. Like, so if you want to see more of this stuff, like we are going to talk to everyone. That's awesome. Not to say we're holding you hostage, but like kind of, we want this thing to succeed and people are going to look to us to what's going to happen. And it is a very cool concept. It's very cool.
And we want to hand it over. We want this to work. We want that, we want to be able to know next year, just sitting on our couch going, oh, they're announcing the new hospice list. That would be really cool for us. But we really need this to be successful for us to go, let's put somebody else on that. Because Russell, myself are established names. We do very well on our Kickstarters. So, like, sorry. Show some support. It's all you love. We know you love the book. Because people are telling us they love the book, but they're not showing us in our monies. So give us some love.
Yeah, for sure. And you can get Ichabod, the one I talked about on the campaign as well, Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter in ebook or paperback or any of our other comics. So I think on any of the campaigns, most people are going to be doing a lot of their backlist stuff because we're expecting to have a lot of new people to share this with.
Yeah, right. And Ichabod's finished, which is pretty cool.
It is 16 issues, 4 volumes, completely complete.
Completely complete. That's a good way to say it. All right, so I was able to get the inks done on this as everybody was wrapping up with their stuff. So I'm gonna. And this is gonna be the cool thing. This is gonna be the cool thing about this is that now I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to fit these in all together. The other 2 pieces on this one. So this will be very.
No,
fun.
You're fine. You got the most important ones there. You're fine.
Just like behind a hand, like around in the tar, like whatever. It's good.
Awesome.
It's fine. Just whatever.
You gotta love these 2 guys. Well, look, I want to thank them for coming onto the show. Thank the chat for watching and sharing and all that good jazz. We can keep continuing that out. It'd be much so appreciated. But I'll see you on Wednesday for the regular normal time of Chat and Draw, where we will have the creator and writer of Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer, on the show.
Yes, David's the best.
And drawing his character and having a good time. So thank you, Facebook user, and thank you for the chat. We'll catch you at the next one. Stay epic, everybody. I'm just buying time till I find my outro. Bye.
I think that I should ask Mr. Watson. I think that I should ask Mr. Watson. I think that I should ask Mr. Watson.